Hello and welcome. My name is Daniel Cairns. I'm the head of enrolments here at Fourth Rev, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you today. And a big thank you to for also attending this session regarding the application process, information regarding the program, but more importantly, the Python test process to attain acceptance into the data science with machine learning and AI career accelerator in collaboration with Cambridge Institute of Continuing Education. It's quite a sentence, that one. Well done. As I said, you're taking another step towards your future, either as advancing your career in data science or changing potentially your career to that one of a data scientist. So well done. Today we'll go through a few things. I'm going to give a brief overview for those that may not be fully aware of the actual program. I'll give a very brief overview of the program. I'll then introduce our special guest, who is the actual Python support for you on the program as well. We'll give you a couple of examples, outline the processes, and answer all of your questions. I'll stick around afterwards to answer any further questions you may have in addition to those that relate to the Python process. But the idea of this session is to have you understand that it's certainly not an insurmountable barrier. Python, you don't need to be a Python expert. You'll learn a great deal of Python in the program. However, we do want to be teaching you data science early on in the program. So there is a prerequisite requirement that you have some understanding. And today will certainly give you a great footing towards your obtaining that understanding as well. On to slide 2. So a very quick overview. The program is designed in true collaboration between Cambridge, Fourth Rev and industry. And it was most important that industry are involved in the design process because it is about your career outcomes that this is designed to enhance. So therefore, it's an extremely practical program. There's no exams. Instead, you build a portfolio of evidence along the way through the submission of up to 20 mini and major projects. It is made up of 4 courses and 1 live industry-facing project at the end. As you can see, course 1 contains those 5 portfolio activities and 2 projects. Course 2 contains the 11 and the 1. Course 3 is more in depth, actually. It goes a bit longer. That contains the 6 portfolios and 2 major projects. And then there's the live employer-facing project at the end with the Bank of England or one of our other industry partners. In that, you'll be grouped together in teams. You'll meet with the Bank of England, who will provide you a real data-related scenario or challenge that they experience. And as a team, you'll work towards providing innovative and tangible solutions to that scenario by applying the learning that you've undertaken through those first 4 courses. It's a brilliant way of practical application of learning in the real world. It is awesome for networking both more deeply with your peers, but also leaders of industry. And when you do go for a new role, be it as a career changer or even as an advancer, it provides a very powerful demonstration of your value when you answer the question, so what experience do you have? To be able to say, I worked with the likes of Bank of England, this is the project, the challenge that they gave us, and this is the innovative solutions and potential impact of what we came up with. The program starts on the 3rd of February. Applications are still open but are limited. However, there is the opportunity of applying and securing your placement, learning Python, and that's what we'll go through today, and sitting the assessment during week 1 of course 1. So on the 3rd of February, there's 2 weeks of onboarding. Course 1 then starts the week of the 17th of February. And as week 1 of course 1 doesn't contain any Python, you've got till then to pass the quite straightforward technical test that we'll go on to in a moment. Just a reminder though, you're going to have hopefully a lot of questions of both myself and our valued guest in Felipe that I'll introduce in a moment. So if you do, and I encourage that you do, please put them in the Q&A box, not the chat function. We'll be posting many resources for you in the chat function. So pop your questions in the Q&A and we'll get to them both either throughout the event, or certainly I'll stick around longer and answer any program related questions that you have. One final thing, a little bit of housekeeping, is that we're busy. We're really busy servicing many, many applications and many inquiries and booked appointments. So if you've tried to book your enrolment advisor recently, you may notice that their calendars are booked out until basically mid next week at this point. I'm going to open up my calendar for those that are attending today so that you can book in with me should you have any questions or need to discuss one-on-one your circumstances and what might be best for you. And we'll also have a drop-in Q&A regarding the course, not specifically Python next week, that you'll get an invite to as well. All designed to give you the confidence to be able to apply, knowing that you've got time up your sleeve still to obtain your Python skills if required, pass the test successfully, and be on your road to becoming a data scientist in 2025. So without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to welcome Felipe to today's discussion. Welcome, Felipe. How are
Hello,
you
everyone.
first?
I'm doing well, thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Felipe. I'm a lead data scientist at Riley. I've been a data scientist for the last 7 years or so, and I've been working with FoldRev in Cambridge for around a little bit over the year. So yeah, I will be helping you guys with any Python questions that you may have. We can schedule one-on-one sessions, as many as you want, as often as you want. I've seen already many types of questions throughout this year. I've been working with Cambridge and Forthrive in this program. So yeah, whatever you ask me, we can solve it. And yeah, I will be happy to help along the way for you.
That's brilliant. And it's indicative of also how much support learners have. So for those that don't know, there's obviously the success managers that guide you through anything course related. There's the Cambridge academics that you'll meet with in a live session weekly. If you can't attend the live sessions, they are recorded. You can catch them up. There's an industry mentor as well as Felipe. And then there's a career coach that you're going to have one-on-one meetings with monthly throughout the program and potentially beyond, ensuring that you can leverage your new skills for your career advancement or career change that you're seeking. So the process that we have is, and the entry criteria is that learners have studied a quantitative unit of study at university level previously, at bachelor degree or postgraduate degree, statistics, mathematics, anything like that that's quantitative in its nature. And then there's the requirement of having 1 year of professional experience, not as a data analyst or a data scientist, but in a role that has used data, which is so broad. As you can imagine, I'm sure that you all potentially meet that criteria, even as a salesperson using forecasting tools and all sorts of different things. And lastly, that you have a basic understanding of Python. For those that aren't sure, we have set up a basic Python test for people to go through, and that's what we'll discuss now. Where once you've obtained the necessary skills, which, as I said at the top of this meeting, it's not that you need to be advanced or even intermediate. It's more beginner level Python is enough to get you commenced. And in fact, Felipe, do you see, you must see already learners with all sorts of different experiences, from loads of Python experience to learners that have come in with virtually none but have successfully passed the test. Is that indicative of the demographic that's studying the program so far?
Yeah, that's right. So I've seen students so far with all sorts of levels. Some of them have previous programming experience, maybe with a different language. But I've seen plenty of the students that have not done any programming before, that just come from the Excel world, and that is totally fine. I think the course moves at the right pace to where they can catch up and understand what they're coding, and at the same time learn about data science. And again, there is plenty of support if anyone needs it. But yeah, if you have never touched on Python, yeah, there is a chance to learn previous to entering the course, but also during the course you will be learning plenty, and it goes in a very a smooth and friendly pace as well, so you don't get overwhelmed. But also there's plenty of support if you get to that point too.
And that's the whole idea. Thank you. That's important that people understand that, no matter your background or experience, we can find a solution to enable your participation and successful application in the course. So let's talk about the process, I guess. So if you apply and receive a letter of offer, we'll give you some free resources to enhance your Python skills or to develop your Python skills to a point that you're comfortable and confident to take to the assessment. But what does the assessment look like? If we can go to the next slide, it's quite straightforward, and there's a few things with it that I'll let everyone know. It's made up of 13 questions, 10 are multiple choice, and 3 are basic coding examples that we'll touch on in a moment. It is required to achieve 80% as a pass mark, and pleasingly, over 90% it actually is. Over 90% of our participants pass successfully on the first go. It is open source. You can source your answers and information externally. It's not timed. You can take basically as long as you need to do it, but you can't log out and then log back in. So it needs to be done in a single session. Anything you'd like to add there, Felipe, in terms of the structure of the test or anything before we get on to a couple of quick examples?
No, not so much. Just practice a little bit or try to remember a little bit the syntax of Python. Basic Python is nothing too complex. So yeah, I feel like if you do a couple of examples of how Python works and you see a few maybe a few examples of how you can create, I don't know, lists, or how you can create operations and do maths and etc. I think you should be totally fine.
That's exactly right. Before I move on to the next slide, I might actually ask the audience in the chat function, not the Q&A, you're going to pop your questions in the Q&A. In the chat function, can you 0 to 5 rate where you feel you are with your Python skills currently? Is it 0 that you've never used it, or is it 5 that you're quite adept at it? Jack, David, thank you both. Both on have a basic understanding. Some others coming through. Most people are around the same. So this is quite a targeted session for those that are at that entry level or have some level of understanding. But I actually think if you've got any level of understanding, you'll pick this up really quickly. And I honestly think, well, not I think, learners have done it in 20 hours, 20 hours of Python between now and the week of the 17th of February. You'll be more than capable of passing the test, and possibly even sooner with our support as well. So I want to give you an example on the next slide of one of the multiple choice questions that you can expect to see in the test. And Felipe, would you like to talk us through that as an example of what you just mentioned as well with the syntax?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, first, just to set up the context about Python programming, the reason why Python is so popular is because it's a very friendly language. So don't get daunted by the fact that you have to learn a new programming language, because Python is definitely one of the friendliest ones to learn. And there is plenty of support out there. It's one of the most popular, so there is answers for every single question you might think. But also we are here, so don't need to worry about that too much. But yeah, so for example, this first question is about the Python syntax of how you can get different pieces of data from a list of elements, and you'll see what that means when you get a little bit more familiar. But these are the basic syntax of Python. So the type of questions that we're asking here is just to have a basic sense of what Python is and what the syntax is. It's nothing too majorly complex.
Exactly. And that's indicative almost all of the multiple choice questions. There's a few, how would you describe them? Visual questions as well, relating to the charting and plotting.
Right. So there will be, for example, other questions that will show you a plot, and you see if you can how can you interpret it, or how can what does this plot mean? But again, is all based on the basic understanding of what the Python programming is. And for the other coding assessment part, where you have to write the code, this also again is more of in the same topic. You will just demonstrate the basic Python understanding. It's nothing too daunting, so don't feel intimidated by the fact that you have to learn this new language, because it's definitely very beginner friendly. Just need to get comfortable with the basic functionalities.
Exactly. And on the right, the sample coding assessment is more the support that the platform that we use for the test enables as well. As you can see down the bottom, if you want to search for help or documentation online, use the resources function. It's quite straightforward. It's quite easy to use and navigate, and is open source and untimed, as I said. So, does that present any questions for anyone so far? If so, pop them in the Q&A, and we'll answer them before we move on to the next stage, or the processes that are coming up next. I think almost everyone, Jack, David, Tanzila, you in the webinar the other day and asked some questions there. I'm really, really pleased to see some familiar names. Amit, Hamza, Vinay, and there's others here, Avram. You've all got enough, I think, to certainly take the next step. My next question is for the audience, I guess, if I can ask you in lieu of questions coming through, give us a thumbs up if you have applied as yet, or what can we say, a laughing emoji if you haven't. So thumbs up if you've applied, or the laughing emoji if you if you haven't. Right. So I can see that most haven't. A couple have, which is excellent. And lastly, have you booked a time, or have you spoken with your enrolment advisor? Same again, thumb up if you have, other emoji if you haven't. Right. Thanks for doing that, and thanks for getting them coming through. It's good to see that most of you, a number of you have. Vinay's got a question here. Which is the editor used for programming? Most editors offer AI that can generate code using prompt. Vinay, have you got a response to that one? Sorry, Felipe.
So most of the activities will be displayed on a Google Colab. So you will see, you can either do them from there, or you can use your own IDE or programming software. Yeah, there are indeed those type of programming software that can help you with the coding, the co-piloting. And those guidelines, I'm not exactly sure where we stand on that, to be fair, but I wouldn't recommend it personally that you use them, because they do a lot of the lifting for you. If you already know how to code, and you already know exactly what that code is doing, that code that the autopilot is giving you, then it might be okay. But if you're starting with coding, by all means, you need to practice yourself and do it yourself to understand what you're doing. And maybe later on, as the name implies, this will help you co-pilot the code that you're writing rather than do it for you, right?
That's exactly right, and that's generally what we've found in the course already. You use AI basically all the way through, but you need the level of competence and confidence to be able to then check what the co-pilot is assisting you with as well. So Felipe's spot on. Develop the skills, the confidence, and the competence to be able to then check over what you're getting AI assistance with, to ensure that you are confident in knowing what is right and what is wrong, because it's not always right as well. We might jump to the next slide if we haven't got any other questions. So the process to undertake from here, I've touched on it briefly, but it's important just to reiterate for everyone. If you haven't spoken with your enrolment advisor, I highly recommend that you do, and it will be a part of the application process if you haven't. You can book me. I'm opening up my calendar because the guys are so busy, and it would be my delight. If you haven't spoken with an EA as yet, book a time with me. I'll walk you through everything, and answer any other questions that you may have one-on-one. Then, if you have already, feel free to submit your application now, I recommend. In the Q&A function, Sam's just put either a link to my calendar or a link to start your application. The application process is such that you need to submit your transcript from your previous studies, to demonstrate that it's contained quantitative units of study. If you've done a master's in economics or something like that, you don't need the transcript, just the certificate would be fine, because it's a given that contains quantitative units. You'll also need to upload an identity document, and a one-page personal statement. The one-page personal statement is an important part of the process for the enrolment and admissions team to assess your application outside of what is self-evident in your previous studies and and employment history. It doesn't need to be War and Peace. It's only a one pager. There's about 4 questions on it. And that then is also a valuable document, not only for the assessment process, but for your career coach to read before they meet with you during the onboarding process, to develop any empathy that might be required, or just to gain an understanding of your motivation to enter the program and your future career aspirations, so they can get their head around that and start supporting you from day one as well. And then that's it in terms of the application. You'll then be contacted if you haven't been already, or you will have booked a time, and I'll talk through you. You'll receive your letter of offer if all going well. Usually we turn it around within 24 hours or so. And once you receive your letter of offer, you can also nominate what payment plan that you would prefer. For those of you that are unaware, the fees for the program are £8,395. That includes VAT, and it includes the extended career coaching if you apply before Monday. So normally there's 6 coaching sessions throughout the program, but that will be extended by another 6 months, ensuring that you have someone beside you after the program while you're still applying for roles, and so much success is gained through having a coach walk you through application interview processes with significant employers and all those sorts of things that will just give you more confidence. So there is that available to you as well. £8,395. You've got options though. Firstly, you do benefit from a reduced rate if you elect to pay up front. That comes down by £500. Or we have payment plans that are free of interest. So you can pay over a 6-month period with no interest. Or for those that need a longer plan, we do partner with StepX, and they can provide a 24-month interest-free plan with a $20 application fee, I believe. But that is subject to finance application, and will also need to be paid off before you receive the certification from Cambridge as well. So 3 options: pay up front, 6-monthly payment plan, or speak with myself or your enrolment advisor if you require the 24-month or a more flexible option that we might be able to offer. Some questions coming. And then I'll just finish the process. Once you've paid your deposit, we'll give you the Python resources. You've got that almost 4 weeks to do that 20 or so hours that we recommend to take the test. Some of you, I think, could take the test already. And then you're on your way to becoming a data scientist by September, when the course completes this year. A couple of questions coming through, Felipe, for both you and I. What will be our level of Python skills by the end of the program? Can you please rate it? And what would be next after in terms of our next skills to pursue? Your machine learning skills using tools such as Python would be elite. Would that be fair to say, Felipe?
Yeah, I think you will be in a pretty good level. Imagine that by the end of the course, you'll be able to create neural networks, and you'll be able to work on this new LLM trends and AI, all of that through Python. And that's pretty advanced level. So you'll be in a pretty good position.
The other factor with that, and thanks, Felipe, you're exactly right. The other factor that is so important in this program that I've mentioned in previous webinars, and I'll mention in everyone, is when we design the content with industry and Cambridge in true collaboration, one of the non-negotiables that industry certainly had was that they don't just want the technical. They want the technical that has then, or the learners that have not only the technical, but the understanding of how to apply the technical in a business context. So that's why you'll see even the course units are business related, the course unit topics. So course 1, applying statistics and core data science techniques in business. Course 2, solving business problems with supervised learning. It's so practical as you go through the program, for that reason, that you can then have a portfolio that you can demonstrate. Not only do I have the technical, but I also understand the business implications of my skills and how I can provide benefit for the business. That will set you apart from master's programs, any other data science program, along with the support that you receive. So please detail a couple of projects done by previous cohorts with Bank of England. I can give you 2 quick ones. One that blew the Bank of England sideways. It's fair to say, I shouldn't say that. I should say that they were most pleasantly surprised with the outcomes of some of the teams that worked on a project to identify what could have been, I think the process was what could have been early warning signs prior to the 2008 financial crisis being triggered, and what could be implemented in the future to alert regarding those warning signs. And it was groundbreaking what they actually came up with. Another one was relating to the bank's policy announcements and the huge amounts of data points that are available surrounding the digestion of an interest rate announcement. So what I mean by that is there was an opportunity for the learners to go through a project where not only was it by media source in which the announcements were being digested, TV, radio, print, social media, you name it. But it was also geographically identified that there were different responses to different platforms, and then demographically also, be it age, be it socio-economic background, and so forth, bringing all that together to recommend ways in which the adoption of different platforms may influence the way in which policy announcements are made and deciphered. Was a huge undertaking. The data points were massive. But there's another example of the type of project that learners got to work on or will get to work on as well, potentially. Does this course helpful for a PhD researcher? If yes, briefly explain. Tanzila, yes. And I'm going to go through this again. If you weren't there the other night, let me just think. In course one, so the commencement of this program was only in early 2024. The first graduates completed late last year. The second group's about to complete shortly. So we've got amazing data from our learners that enroll, and we're continuing to gather their data as they obtain their career outcomes, obviously. But it's fair to say that there's 5 groups of learners from different backgrounds and professions. First was business management, CEOs, vice presidents, wholesale managers, digital transformation managers. The second and second most populous was data and analytics backgrounds. As you can imagine, business analysts, senior business analysts, data analysts, data curation assistants, looking to take that career, their advance their existing career into data science. Then there was the technical, those with technical backgrounds, the engineering and technology, software engineers, integration engineers, solution architects and the like, ML ops consultants. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's probably about 15 learners in the first cohort or two that were from research and scientific backgrounds. Of them, there are 5, 6, 7 PhD and postdoctoral candidates or scientists or students. And then there's senior bioinformaticians, experimental scientists and the like. So yes, in answer to the question. Oh, and lastly, there's a consultancy and advisory group, freelancers, investment associates. There are a number of finance people from a finance background undertaking the program. So in short, yes, absolutely. It depends, of course, on what your PhD and your thesis may be on, your doctoral. But yes, it's becoming more and more common and advantageous to have data science skills when doing that type of research, Tanzila. So well done to you. Would access to such data points with Bank of England not require security clearance? Great question. There are projects that are undertaken with not so much security clearance because the information, the data points would be gleaned and cleared prior. It's not so much a security clearance that is required, but some of the projects we have, be it with the bank or with other potential partners as well, do require non-disclosure agreements to be signed as well. Some of them may be commercial in confidence. I know some of even the examples that you work on in the projects during the course are very commercial in confidence or interesting from a commercial perspective, doing competitor analysis and demographical analysis in new markets and things like that. Great questions, Vinay, and all. Lastly, any other questions? Here we go. David, this question relates to the math side of data science rather than Python. I've watched a few YouTube videos from data scientists talking about the math typically involved, such as statistics and probability, linear algebra, and calculus. How much of this is covered on the Career Accelerator, realistically expected by employers of a graduate from this program? great question, David. I might actually share something here. In fact, if you don't have it, I'll bring it up and link it already for everyone in the chat. Sam, I'm not sure if I've got access to the chat. I do, everyone. So I'm just going to link the course unit overview for course 1 for everyone. So you take your eyes off us for a moment. It's not a good thing to do during a webinar to divert everyone away, but I think it relates exactly to David's question. As you'll see, as you go through this document, you'll see week by week a breakdown of the content and the learning outcomes and assessment methods. I highly recommend, and I'll post the other two in here, the other two or three units as well. But David, it's a great question, and all of that is held in there, and that's why it's the foundational point of course 1, week 1. For example, the first thing that you do, it is a foundational point of data science. Felipe, anything to add there in relation to David's question?
So I would say being a data scientist, right, it combines all of these different domain knowledges. One of them is maths, the other one is business, and the other one is programming. So there's definitely an element of maths that you need to know, but that you will learn, such as probability, such as statistics, such as machine learning. Linear algebra is very important, of course. So these are all elements that you will learn and you will need to be a successful data scientist. But when you come to, for example, to work for an industry, they won't particularly ask you to like demonstrate, okay, can you get the integral or the derivative or this particular equation, right? They will not ask you that type of thing. They will just simply ask you, how can we solve this problem from a business perspective? And then you will translate that using your knowledge in mathematics and programming, translate that into a solution, right? So it's not that they're going to ask you a math question when you try to get into a job. It's expected that you know how to navigate this. But yeah, there's plenty to learn. So obviously you cannot learn every single thing. So yeah, just get comfortable with the tools that we give you and in the program, and with that you'll be more than fine for the industry.
Great answer. I hope that helps, David, because Felipe's done a much better job than I could have. But in the meantime, what I will do is, if people haven't got them, I'm going to post the other 2 links as well. Hang on one second. Hang on, I've got the wrong one. Here it is. Course 2 coming into the chat now, and course 3, course 4, and the employer project I can provide in an email individually afterwards as well. We've got some examples of the employer project and some words from the Bank of England regarding it as well. Vinay's got some questions. Well done, Vinay. Thank you for your contribution to this as well. Can this accelerator program be converted to a postgraduate certificate, and would that postgraduate certificate qualify for a PhD enrolment in the future? It's a bit complicated, but in short, I'd say not at this stage, no. It is always our intent, though, with our career accelerators to build them as stackable qualifications in the future. Now, this is a young career accelerator. We've been doing the data analytics one with LSE for 4 years, and that has just had the postgraduate certificate component approved for it. We've also done that with digital product management with King's College London, where once the career accelerator is completed, learners can do an additional workplace-based capstone project to obtain their postgraduate certificate. That's not in place for this as yet, Vinay. I'm not sure of a time frame. I know it is always in discussion that we have with Cambridge IS, and it would be our intent for the future. So I can't give you a timeline for that or whether it would qualify for enrolment. However, once that you have studied at Cambridge, obviously, whilst this is not credit bearing towards a future qualification, application towards future qualifications would be looked favourably upon those that have studied with the university as well before. Lastly, would recordings of the lessons be available for lifetime to access or revise in the future? Not for a lifetime, no. there is a period of time, and I think it's 6 months or so, but most of it is you can obviously download in your own formats. A lot of your projects and presentations you'll be using through GitHub and other and Google Colab and things like that to develop your portfolios, um, and storing a lot of your worked information in there as well. So it's not a lifetime access, but you'll certainly have access to downloading a lot of the information should you need it. But the other thing is, it does change so quickly as well. Part of the attraction of this program is that we are always updating the content. I think it's very challenging for master's programs and that to adapt to the speed of change in which industry is experiencing. And as I've said before, and as I'll say again, someone much wiser than I once said, um, the pace of change has never been this fast and it will never be this slow again. And I think that sums it up as well. So it is important to get the foundational skills, the advanced skills throughout the program that it teaches you to obtain your career outcome, and then always look to continually learn forevermore as well in a changing environment. Vinay, great questions, great input from yourself as well. So in summary, the process is if you haven't spoken with your EA and you need to speak with someone urgently, book a time with me for early next week. I've opened up my calendar a fair bit, so there's enough slots available in there. If you can't get me by Monday the 27th, but do book me, I'll how can I do this? I will honour that 6 month extended coaching if required. Even if you book me, say on Tuesday or so forth. If you do submit your application in the meantime, it will speed up the process as well. So I implore you to submit your application over the weekend, get an outcome if you've already spoken with your enrolment advisor, speak to me and I'll turn your application around quite quickly. And then we can give you the letter of offer, your invoice for the deposit, and the resources to enable your Python skills to be enhanced to the point that you pass the test confidently and competently. Avram's asked, in relation to Vinay's question, read the PG cert, does that mean that alumni of the program will be eligible to receive the cert when there is an agreement in place, even after a few years? I don't know that it ever will. I'm not sure. It hasn't. I can't promise something that hasn't materialised as yet. In the other career accelerators, they have the option of doing that additional capstone. If that's the process with Cambridge, I don't know. But that's what's happened with our alumni in our other programs, Avram. But I can't give you an answer as to what the structure of that may be at some stage in the future. If it is, then we hope, yes, that would be the case. If it's not, I'm not sure of the structure of it, or what it might look like, if and when it goes through the academic board at Cambridge, which, as you can imagine, takes quite some time. And
Daniel,
rightly
if I
so.
may add something,
Yeah,
I think
please.
I've heard recently that this program is it's towards recognizing you as an official Cambridge alumni. So if you take this course, Cambridge will recognize you that as you are a part of the alumni, which looks very favorably if then you want to do a further master's or PhD or any sort of further studies. And like you said, I think there are talks to make this like a certificate program as well. But at least you have that you will be recognized as a Cambridge alumni. I don't know if it is from this cohort or from the next cohort later on, but I know that we are working towards that.
I think that's retrospected as well, which is awesome for everyone. Other questions? Any other questions regarding the program, the career coaching that we haven't touched on a great deal, processes, anything like that? The last slide is, as we said, I'll honour those 6 months of additional career coaching if you book that time with me, or if you've already spoken with your enrolment advisor, and obviously you get your application in by Monday. We'll turn it around in 24 hours or so, give you the resources to develop your Python skills. You can start then onboarding on the 3rd of October, I was about to say, on the 3rd of February. It's a 2 week onboarding process designed to set you up to succeed. And you've got the week after that in which to still pass the technical test, which I hope we've allayed any fears that you may have had surrounding it. It's not hard. 90+% of our candidates pass it on the first attempt. So in rounding off, well done one and all, firstly, for attending today to find out more. Secondly, it's now taking that next step. Many of you, I was in a webinar recently and I said the same thing. Engage with those around you that may be impacted with your sacrifice that is needed over the next 7 months. It's a 20 hours a week blend of synchronous and asynchronous learning, synchronous sessions with the Cambridge academics, synchronous sessions with Felipe and the other support mechanisms in place, and 18 or so, 15 to 18 hours of your asynchronous learning as it's online at times that are designed to fit in with you rather than you fit in with university. But they may be impacted by that. It might be that you can't go out on Friday nights with the boys because you've got an assignment due. It might be that your family need to understand that dad's studying, mum or dad is studying on Saturday mornings, and that's going to be the way for the next 7 months for the betterment of the family. Engage with those that mean a lot to you or that may be impacted by your short sacrifice over 7 months. It's not a long time in the scheme of things, but understand and paint the picture of how proud you will be to be studying at Cambridge, but also how beneficial it will be for them in the long run when you advance or change your career into a higher paying position as well. Thank you all. Have a great day. I expect to see some bookings in my calendar. If not, some applications coming through. We look forward to welcoming, supporting, but mostly celebrating your success. And I'd like to also take a moment to thank Felipe, who's done a fantastic job, not only of putting this together, but also supporting learners that are already in the program. Thank you, Felipe.
Thank you, Daniel. You also did a great job for putting all of this together. So thank you very much.
Yes, and thank you to Sam. That's always the rock of our events that we host. We host literally, I don't know, dozens of events in the lead up to every one of our career accelerators, and Sam's the bedrock of them all. So thank you as always, Sam. Good on you, everyone. Take the next step, apply, and let's get you into what is hopefully and promisingly a life-changing experience for you. Have a great day and a great weekend.
Bye, guys.